So for the second section, Unit 5, we're going to be working on one of my favorite topics because better buys is an idea that you use all the time outside of school. And I really like doing these real-world topics. So in order to understand better buys, we have to understand the concept of this thing called unit rates. And what a unit rate means is that we have 10 pounds of steak for $35. But that doesn't really tell us anything. And so a unit rate means breaking this down from 10 pounds to 1 pound of steak and figuring out how much that costs for a single pound. And the way we do this is we say the things out loud. We know in math the word per means division. And we have two things. We have pounds and we have dollars. We have to figure out which of them goes on top and which goes on bottom. So we could do pounds per dollar, or we can do dollars per pound. And we just say which one of those sounds more realistic. Well, pounds per dollar sounds a little weird, but at dollars per pound, that sounds like something that we've heard before in the real world. So we're going to do dollars per pound. My pen decides to work here. There we go. Dollars per pound and not pounds per dollar. So all we do is put the dollars on top, so 35. Put the pounds on bottom, that's 10. And we just divide those out. Well, 35 divided by 10, that's 3.5. And now we put our label on there, dollars per pound. So that's a unit rate. So each pound costs $3.50. So down here on the bottom, we're running 7 miles over 45 minutes. So our two options are miles over minutes or minutes over miles. And this one's interesting because the top one had an answer that made a lot more sense, but both of these actually would be okay. I'm going to do how many minutes per 1 mile it takes. So I'm going to do minutes on top and miles on bottom. So I'll go 45 over 7, and this one I'm going to use a calculator for, which is about 6.4 minutes per mile. Now, you could write it like that, or you could write it 6.4 minutes over 1 mile. Either one of those would work out okay. I think this one, though, is more often used, and there's less to write, so that's how I choose to do it. But the key is, when you're doing unit rates, is just say it out loud and see which one makes more sense. So, when we get to better buy examples, what we do is we find the unit rates for each of these and compare them to each other. So we have two examples. We have 10 pounds of spaghetti at $3.50. And we have 8 pounds of spaghetti at $3.25. So our options is pounds per dollar or dollars per pound. We've done this one before. We know dollars goes on top, pounds goes on bottom. So we have $3.50 over 10 pounds, and we have $3.25 over 8 pounds. Well, the one on the left, that's just $0.35 per 1 pound. The one on the right is a little bit tougher, is 41 cents per pound. And in this case, which is a better buy is asking which is cheaper. Therefore, this top one's cheaper because of that work down there. Okay, so the key here, have to show the work down here on the bottom, and then have to make sure you tell me which one the answer is. Now, what happened, I want to show you real quick. If we would do this backwards, so I put 10 on top instead of 3.5, now I get 2.86 pounds per dollar. And that doesn't make any sense, 2.86 pounds per dollar. But if I did the other one, 8 divided by 3.25, I get 2.46 pounds per dollar. So not only does the number not make any sense, it actually gives me the wrong answer, and it flips. So it's really important to put the right number on top versus the other one, okay? The hint is money usually goes on top, time usually goes on bottom. Usually, not always. So, I think, yep, I'm going to do this one, and then you'll do the next two. So now we have 18 apples for $4.23, or 35 apples for $8. So I'm going to put the money on top. So 423 over 18. And 35, whoops, there I did it backwards. Got to be careful. And this would be 8 divided by 35. So 423 divided by 18 is 24 cents per apple. And 8 divided by 35 is 23 cents per apple. Therefore, this one is cheaper, and this one is cheaper. All right, that's how every better buy example is going to work out. So, now as we try to get to some of these more specific examples, getting a little bit more realistic, we want to figure out how much it would cost for more than 1 pound. So I want to buy cheese-filled brats, which are absolutely delicious, but they cost $1.23 per pound. So that's $1.23 for 1 pound. But now I want to go backwards, and I want to do 11 pounds, and I need to figure out the cost. So for this one, last time we wanted to make the numbers smaller. This time we want to make them bigger. So we're going to do $1.23 times 11 pounds, which is $13.53 for 11 pounds. Okay? So now, I think there's one left here. I can run a 7-minute and 30-second mile. How long would it take me to run a marathon, which is 26 miles? So I can run 1 mile in 7 minutes and 30 seconds. Now the problem is I got to figure out a way to write that out because I can't write 730. Like that wouldn't make any sense. So there's 2 ways I could do this. I could turn this all into seconds, and that would be 450 seconds because there are 60 seconds in each minute. Or I can figure out that 30 seconds is half of 1 minute to make that 7.5 minutes. So now I want 26 miles. I want you to see if you can figure this one out. How many minutes would it take me to run 26 miles? Okay, for this one, you have to do 7.5 times our 26 miles, which is 195 minutes. But for the sake of argument, that would be 3 hours and 15 minutes. Very, very long time. It's a lot of running. All right, so if you have questions, make sure you ask me. There's a couple IXLs on the website for you.